I was just curious to know why in the first place we started using chemicals for growing the fruits and vegetables. These chemicals have taken away the fun of having these fruits and vegetables by plucking it from a tree and having it just like that. I wish we were in a world where there was no usage of these kind of hazardous chemicals.
So how about washing it under the tap before you eat the fruit?
Why didn't I think about this before? But the thing is, my dad keeps telling me to wash the fruits before I'm about to eat, which is annoying. I end up not having them at all. Although my dad has a point that these chemicals are harmful and can cause cancer.
Well, this is a big jump from plucking the fruit to getting cancer, isn't it?
I understand, but my brain still tells me that pesticides can be harmful to us. And so, I think the solution to this is nothing else but organic farming. In fact, in Jharkhand, around 4,500 women farmers cultivating varieties of rice organically without using any chemical fertilizers. Now here's the twist. These are sold as organic rice and they are able to charge a premium for the product. This is a win-win situation. On one side, these women farmers are making decent money, and on the other side, we are getting healthy food.
You know what? I can get behind that. But can we scale it?
I have two words for you. Sri Lanka. In 2021, their president announced that they are going completely organic. Totally surprising as whether this decision would be feasible. On a deeper study, I found out that the reason to go organic was fiscal deficit and import of chemical fertilizers contributed to some extent. This is totally hilarious but definitely sad for Sri Lankans. This ban was for odd 3 months. This created disturbance for the tea exports. Sri Lanka being one of the largest tea exporter, 18% of their exports dropped down due to organic farming decision and later due to lack of foreign reserves. Tea producers moved to organic farming and this is giving them lower yields compared to conventional farming. There is a risk that they might get replaced as to the source of tea for foreign countries.
It went poorly for Sri Lanka?
Well, maybe. If there is a yield issue that persists in organic farming with two examples we spoke about, this is a real constraint to go organic. Yield is important to every developing economy. With the increase in population and the country's efforts to increase their foreign exports. In fact, to further increase the production, they are using means like gene modification that increase the yield by 40%. This situation seems like farmers are making efforts to increase yield where we are trying to promote organic farming, which may not be in line with higher production needs.
Well, I sense a general discomfort with chemicals and pesticides and fertilizers. But you know what? Not all may be bad with the world. One way to think about this is that we are surrounded by things which have the potential of causing harm if not used judiciously.
Yes, like what?
Like electricity. There are some estimates that approximately 40% of global carbon dioxide emissions come from electricity generation. But I, for one, will loathe to live without electricity. It will be a nightmare and our quality of life will surely degrade by a few hundred years. We continue to use electricity because the benefits outweigh the risks.
I can relate to that. But what does that have to do with pesticides?
Well, pesticides and fertilizers also fall under the category of benefits outweighing the risk. Potential benefits are particularly important for developing countries. A recent article talked about the impact of rising cost of fertilizers on farmers in Africa due to the ongoing conflict in Europe. This may lead to lower crop production and a resulting food crisis. Food crisis is not a good news for the community as the 2011 food price hike contributed to the Arab Spring.
That sounds a bit far-fetched. There must have been more reason to those circumstances than just food prices going up. We are living through a phase of higher inflation and everything is becoming more expensive.
That may be so, but have you heard of the Very Hungry Caterpillar?
Yes.
You know what? I'll tell you about it anyways. It's a children's book by Eric Carle, which was first published in 1969 and remains immensely popular. While the caterpillar makes a good story, it is very hungry, which means it eats a lot of leaves. And if many hungry caterpillars eat a lot of leaves, then the crops will fail and the farmers will go hungry, which is not a good outcome. In many such cases, it is chemicals like pesticides that help get rid of many such very hungry caterpillars and ensure that we have food to eat.
All that is good and fine, but how does it that mean that pesticides are not harmful?
In the past, there have been harmful pesticides, and a prime example is DDT. Now, DDT was discovered in 1874 and it gained popularity during the World War years when people found it to be very effective in managing the menace of lice for soldiers. It was also found to be very effective in keeping the mosquito population in check, which are one of the deadliest killers of human beings. In fact, DDT helped Nepal eradicate this debilitating disease from its Terai hills.
See, chemicals are not all good and they can cause real harm in the world.
Agreed. And DDT is not the only harmful pesticide of note. In fact, there are 22. They are called persistent organic pollutants. Their deal is that they do not degrade in the environment and tend to linger for long periods of time. It would have been good and fine if that's all they did, but they are also harmful and toxic to people and wildlife and cause lasting damage and even lead to death.
So what are we doing about it?
People have wisened up to the threat from organic pollutants and formed the Stockholm Convention, which severely limits the production, trade and use of POPs. Almost all countries in the world have signed up to this important initiative, which is to say that the world is moving collectively to eradicate this threatening and harmful pesticides and chemicals while trying to keep an eye on those that are being used regularly.
Well, that was a good spiel, but I'm not entirely sure. I still believe that there is a place for organic farming of limited use of chemicals and fertilizers.
Well, I can see why someone would think that way. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below.